I worked at a transfill station for liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen, argon gas, nitrous oxide. We did liquid oxygen for medical use. I was filling up a cryogenic tank with liquid oxygen. Made a lot of noise. Went to go look around to see, where the sound was coming from. Went back around to the side slide door and checked out the tank, and once I turned my back to it, that's when it gave off on me. I remember being engulfed in flame for about 15 seconds. Tore my shirt off, tore my pants off, whatever was left anyways. Thought about stop, drop, and roll, but noticed there's a lot of dirt on the ground. Probably thought that was a bad idea. Basically from there, it's just bits and pieces. Went and sat down, and medics came and picked me up.
I actually met with Matthew for the first time at his house. Drove down there in Fountain, Colorado. Met with him and his mom, his dad. Got to know his family quite well. The hard work really began after that. It was to help him, in terms of his medical, finding the right doctors that he would need to get through a lot of his healing process, but also to diagnose a lot of what was going on. He sustained second and third degree burns, but he had a blast concussion. He had a lot of PTSD issues that he was dealing with that were, fairly significant at the time.
I remember bits and pieces of them cleaning my burns up, and that was pretty painful. Don't really remember. I was in and out of consciousness, just falling back to sleep from all the pain and medications that I was on.
We knew what happened. I mean, this company's vessel exploded, so we went to them. We didn't even just file a lawsuit. We went to them and said, let's talk about how this thing exploded. We got some experts together. They got their experts. The manufacturer of the vessel got theirs. We contacted and teamed up with an expert out of New Mexico who was a liquid oxygen specialist that NASA has used in safe delivery systems of liquid oxygen in outer space. Tons of things happen. Getting documents, taking depositions, it's a lengthy process, it's a costly process.
The whole legal process, it was probably the longest process I've ever been through. It's definitely time consuming and really mentally it could break you down.
Nobody wanted to turn over any documents. Nobody wanted to basically lay anything on the table and say, okay, this is what we know. So the only way you can really get those documents is by filing a lawsuit. So we brought suit in federal court and proceeded through litigation in the case, and it took quite a long time. They wind up destroying evidence. They wind up stepping on themselves, if you will, in the sense that they had their own experts lying about what a third-degree 20-year-old burn victim said to them, trying to manipulate facts, manipulate evidence on both sides of the spectrum. In this case, it wound up flipping on them, and we were able to actually take all their conduct and turn it around on them, and they wound up paying 3.5 times what they were actually willing to pay.
I felt like Jason being there was certainly the biggest help of all. He really was the man on top of everyone, that's for sure.
Anytime that you've sustained an injury, you need to get legal representation as soon as possible, and someone who specializes in personal injury law. And there's a number of reasons for that. First and foremost, the insurance companies, they know the law. Most people don't. They know they're not allowed to take a recorded statement within the first 15 days. They're not allowed to even try to settle the case within the first 30 days if you've treated with a practitioner of the healing arts, is what the statute says. But you don't know that. Most people don't know that. So they call up and they get a recorded statement, and they try to get as much information as they possibly can. And the only thing that you have as a recourse against them under the law is it can't be used against you at trial. Well, most of the cases don't go to trial. So they just keep on breaking the law knowingly. The idea of being in a courtroom for a lot of people and being in front of a jury in general can be, a very stressful situation. But we prepare them for that. We sit down and make sure that they understand what they're going to walk into.